Hi, and welcome to the Voice of Bold Business Radio. I am your host, Jessica Dewell of Red Direction. Today, you are listening to Grow Genuine Company Culture. And I want to take a minute before I tell you the question and introduce you to today's panel to recognize as you're listening that there are very different opinions out there, and we just have two of the many. And they're valid, they're useful, they're immediately helpful. And even if what you do is different, whether you think you have a great culture, whether you don't care if you have a great culture, whether you don't think culture exists, by the way, it does, listen to the way they think and what they've talked about, because both Andrea and Sabrina are very much thoughtful in their companies and where they want it to go and the impact that they're making. And I asked them this question: what are the steps to genuinely grow and sustain our company culture? And you will hear both of them in just a minute, and I would like to introduce you to them first. Andrea Villeneuve is a business owner and provides proven solutions designed to improve, enhance, and streamline operations through the use of graphic design, web, and related technologies. For more than 20 years, Sabrina Candini designs and plans successful celebrations, and she's a marketing consultant for other wedding entrepreneurs. We'll be back right after this.
Welcome to the Voice of Bold Business, the show that provides everything smart leaders need to evaluate situations, build relationships, and create solutions. Jessica Dewell candidly talks about the skills necessary to build tenacity and do more with less. And now, here's Jessica.
I want to know, what are the steps to genuinely grow and sustain our company culture?
You know, I'm very happy that we're talking about this topic because many people still underestimate the importance of having a company culture. Such a valuable part of your business, regardless of your role or the company size. For me, particularly, I'm a solo entrepreneur. I was talking to a friend yesterday, telling her about this recording. And when she asked me about the topic, I said, well, it's about company culture. And she was laughing, asking me, what are we going to say? You are the company. Should you have a company culture? Yes, you should. It's so important. And so everybody should have a company culture that can grow the business. And, in my particular business, I fly solo. However, I have assistants who help me on events and weddings when we work together. And I also have a team of vendors who work with me during the event or the wedding. And when I refer them to clients, I need to make sure that they really understand my company values, they share the same values, and they basically create a successful team, because having a successful team lets you grow and become successful. So for me, it's the concept of having a great team. Every person you work with should really have a clear understanding of what your values are, because they work with your clients. They have to represent your company at all times. So yeah, I would say the concept of team is very important for me.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Sabrina. Andrea, I'd like to know, what are the steps to genuinely grow and sustain our company culture from your perspective?
Well, maybe a little bit of a similar perspective. Definitely teamwork is really important, and having your team understand where you're coming from. And in our business, we use or have both employees and contractors. And so having everyone on the same page for our growth to fit in what we don't have. Like, we want our culture to align with our core values, but we also want people to complement us. So getting everybody on the same page who has a different skill set is really important to us, and bringing all of that together in how we go about doing our business.
I love that we're starting to talk about team first, whether that's team with vendors that we bring in, contractors that we bring in, employees that we have, our customers as well, because it's actually something where we know we can have the best experience for our customers, the best delivery of whatever it is we're doing when our customers understand and know what to expect from us. And that brings up this concept of transparency. So let's talk about that a little bit. Where does transparency fit into company culture for you guys?
Transparency is one of my core values of my company. Again, even if I am a solopreneur, I have company values and I have like a mission statement for my team and my clients. And transparency is definitely one of my biggest values. I'm very direct and very honest, and I want the people I work with do the same thing for my company and for my clients. Absolutely. And it also includes trust, because I need to work with someone who's trustworthy. If I have assistants managing a wedding where I'm not present, I want them to absolutely do exactly the same thing that I would do in front of a client. So I always teach them how to respond to a client. I always teach them how to manage difficult situations. I always give them the ability to make executive decisions also. So I give them the freedom to represent my company basically 24/7 when they are at an event. And again, I'm only interested in working with authentic people who really philosophy of transparency in the company and with the client relationship. So that's very important. And I also have other core values like integrity, loyalty, and that are always part of my company values.
Thank you, Sabrina. And I want to ask you one other thing. In your own words, then, tell us what transparency within your company as a core value of yours means.
Well, transparency is being able to basically share these values and make sure that everybody understands them. Because again, when you have a team working for you, you have to make sure that, as Andrea was saying, you understand them and you can put them in practice in the company. You need to know them. You need to know the people you work with. And you need to share these values and make sure that they understand them as well. Otherwise, if there's not clear understanding, there's no team, there's no business, there's no success.
Andrea, what would you add to that?
I think I'm going to walk along the fact that transparency for us, or transparency within our business, has always been about what our expectations are and being able to communicate them extremely clearly, not just to our team, but to our clients. Our preference is to come in and be open and honest from the start. And if that means that we feel that the direction that you may want to go isn't the right one for you, or that your expectations are something that you don't need, we would rather undersell than oversell on our position by being transparent and open with who you are as a client. The same would go for our team. Our team is extremely valuable and important to us, and when they are representing us, we want them to have that same power and control, where they understand when they're going in, that they're speaking to, they have the power and the ability to speak to what we expect and how we really like to provide our clients the best possible for what their expectations are. So open and honest is huge.
Both of you mentioned being able to have the ability to act in an authoritative role within the environment, within the situation that the people you are working with find themselves. How does this concept of transparency fit? How do you communicate that to different work styles of the teams and vendors that you work with?
Certainly part of that would be the open and honesty portion. The second part of that is allowing them the understanding that our expectation is, if they make a decision, that it's going to come back to us and they're going to be transparent back, and that the reason that they did it was something that was in line with our core values. That would be the easiest way to state that that's what our expectations are.
Yeah, same for me, same exact concept. And always encourage my team to work in a friendly, welcoming, productive, positive, inspiring environment, because again, it's very important that they understand the values and they align with them. And as Andrea was saying, same thing with my clients, exactly. So company values that I have in my company are the same for my clients. And, you know, in my business, I take the role of an advisor of, I usually deal with family dynamics, budget issues. So definitely there needs to be this transparency and this great relationship that I establish with clients and customers.
Both of you guys have talked about the core values of your organizations. What are the actions that you take that allows everybody to step in and say, yes, I want to be a part of this? And the opposite is also true. Be able to say, no, thank you. I'm not interested in being a part of this.
Well, what I do is the opportunity to teach them, to show them, to guide them. That's definitely part of a training that I do before hiring an assistant or working with a vendor. I also have to say, before I hire someone, I do a little research on the internet. I don't know if you guys do the same.
Yes.
I usually write, of course. I mean, we have this opportunity nowadays with technology. And so I check their LinkedIn profile. I check their online reviews and see if they're trustworthy, reliable, professional, and also their personal profile on Facebook and Twitter account. Because I really want someone who aligns with my company culture. And if I see, someone having wild parties in Vegas, half naked, that's not the type of assistant I want. Not here to judge anybody, but that doesn't represent my culture. And if that's part of their business, that's definitely the way they should promote their business, but it's not for my clients and it's not my style. But what I try to do once I have these assistants, I guide them, I teach them, I train them, I communicate my values with them, giving them the ability to learn something and showing them how I operate with my clients gives them a great picture of how my company operates. The best compliment that I can receive is one assistant at the end of an event coming to me and saying, please call me again because I love working with you. It doesn't even feel like work here, and that shows that they really, really learned how I operate. They really get it. They really get how I provide stellar service to my clients. And it's wonderful to see that they align with my values and together we're stronger and better. That's what I really like. And then lead by example, because you're not your company when you work on it, your company 24/7. And so if you have relationships with these people, you also have to show them who you are as a brand, because you are the image, you are the brand, no matter what. And then, of course, encouraging clear, transparent communications, because that's the point. I mean, always communicate the values and be sure that they align with your values and they're on the same page, and frequently communicate to make sure that we all have the same understanding. Why not having maybe friendships? I have created great friendships with vendors and assistants, and that's how you create stronger bonds, I think. That's how you can really make sure that your company values are stronger together.
Mm-hmm. Andrea, what would you add?
Well, I don't know how much more I could add. That was quite an excellent explanation. And I wouldn't argue one single point off of it. When we're looking to hire, when we're looking to contract, or when we're looking for a vendor, we do look for similar core values. And I think that is the starting point for us. And again, that's probably the starting point for us with clients who come to us too, because we're not going to change who we are and put out something that makes us feel like we're not doing a good job. We've been in business for almost 18 years now, so those core values need to be passed on through anything that we do. So it is brand awareness of your own personal brand or company brand, and it's what's brought forward. That would be the only little piece I would add after the last one.
Okay, and let's dive into the communication of that, because you both talked about seeking out, finding complementary core values that everybody can ascribe to. Andrea, how do you actually go about communicating your values or having conversations to find out if what people say they have as core values are actually what they are in terms of the same meaning of concepts that they've chosen?
Well, I think sometimes that can be a cautious road that we've walked down. Some people will, of course, come across like they do have your core values, and then you find out down the road that maybe they're not quite as set in how they apply the values to what they do. But for the most part, there is an exercise in building trust, and it comes from working together over a period of time in order to ensure that who you've brought on is the right person and right fit. And I think in our experience, we have a lot of people we've worked with long-term that you have developed that core values from, and we have long-term vendors and we have long-term clients. And as that relationship develops, as you communicate with them the things that are important to you and they come back with what is important to them, you build that trust and let that grow forward. What
would you add, Sabrina?
So I would say value them, value the people you work with, because I think that can add trust. The more, I don't know if freedom is the right word, but the more responsibilities you give them, the more they will feel they are an important part of the team. And so they definitely want to be part of it. I see that with my assistants, and it's a great way to feel them playing a very important role in the company. And they grow with that. And I really like that.
What happens when you're working together and it becomes slowly but surely clear that there is not alignment of values and cultures here? How do you address that? What do you do? What would you suggest for everybody that's listening?
Well, I have to say I've been lucky not to have these situations very often. What I usually do before deciding to hire an assistant, for instance, I let them shadow me for a couple of weddings, and that's how I really see how they perform, how they deliver, how they present themselves, how they deal with situations. And if there's not an alignment, then they cannot work for me, because again, I really want responsible people who understand my values, who understand what I want for my clients. And it's very important for me because again, since I'm the only one in the company, my reputation is at stake. I cannot take any risk. If we have 2 weddings at the same time and I'm not there with her, I really need to make sure that she will represent my company fully, 100%. I have to say that I'm lacking because I don't have employees, so I don't have to hire long-term people. But it's a risk on the other side because since they're not employees, maybe they don't take the business responsibly. They don't take it seriously enough. So for me, it's very difficult to find someone who is really committed, really passionate, really dedicated in the business. She will deliver an excellent job for me. So that's how I see it. I usually try them before making sure that the alignment is there.
In our circumstance, we look at short-term contracts, which allows a little bit of flexibility. If you find after 3 months that the person is not working out, you just don't renew. It's easier to terminate from a contract perspective than it is to not have something in place and have to fire somebody, which can be very uncomfortable. We've been lucky, and we have had really great people who have come to work for us who do believe in the culture and do believe in what we're doing, and that has been helpful. So I haven't had an opportunity yet to exercise something in that form for the wrong fit culturally.
That's really awesome. And that says something to the pre-work that you guys are doing in terms of checking people out, the types of questions that you're asking, what you are putting out there for other people to also assess at the same time, and making sure that the communication really is a two-way street, and inviting them to be ready and willing to step up and meet you in that place. We're going to take a quick station break to remind people that they are listening to the Voice of Bold Business Radio, and we are talking, how do we grow genuine company culture today? Which takes us into the next piece. You guys have talked about getting to know people, even forming friendships, and having these lasting, deep relationships that we can actually turn into support. How do you go from somebody that you're working with and you're slowly giving responsibility to, and they're stepping up and they're owning their role? How do you show them that they're also supporting you back?
Well, it's about relationship. Again, in my specific case, I can give an example about my assistants. Some of them became junior coordinators, so I elevated them to the title of junior coordinator. So they usually handle weddings for me if I am busy with other events, maybe. So that allows me to do some so-called double bookings on a weekend, because we can only do so much, of course, but I completely trust these people. I helped some of them open their own business because I'm also a business coach besides being an event planner, and I helped them open their own business, start their own company. And so that was, I would say, a big accomplishment for me as well, because I saw that they grew thanks to the experience in my company, and I was able to help them to elevate their brand and become successful on their own and have their own clients, and now we refer each other. I'm very happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
When a relationship is working, it's always a two-way street. It is good for our business. It is good for them in what they're doing, whether they're a contractor, an employee, or a vendor. It comes over time. It comes over experience with each other. And I think that the only way you elevate is if everybody is lifting everybody up.
We're dancing around this concept of vulnerability when it comes to how do we show up, what do we expect, the way that we bring people on, and we're talking about our company culture, which is an incredibly important thing. One of the foundation pieces being trust and how long it takes to build up that trust. There is an element of risk in there, and finding that place and being okay in that state of vulnerability can be difficult. Is there a time that there has been a lot of risk for you where you felt risk? And would you be willing to share that story of facing that, accepting that, and then the outcome?
I'm very careful when I start a relationship because I want to make sure that this is the right friendship in the business. And, some people say, well, you should keep boundaries, you should keep the distance from other people you work with because friendships can be ruined, can be damaged when you enter in a business relationship. And I understand that. And for that reason, I always am very, very careful when I decide to bring that relationship to a higher level. So for me, it takes a while to really establish a stronger bond with people I work with. But once I do it, I have to say I never had bad experiences. So I consider myself lucky on that point, And I think it's very important because I don't want to ruin friendships. And if I think that a friendship might be ruined, then I decide to keep business out of it. Because again, friendships to me are more important than business relationships. I try to keep a balance and not create too much confidence. I don't know if that's the right word between the two parties, because again, if we're working on something, I still want to make the business relationship more important than the friendship. And then after the project, after the event, then we can have fun together. But again, we should still keep a certain distance about that.
Early on in the business, I had thought of expanding, and we took on a partner, and it was someone that I knew and was comfortable with and believed had complementary skill sets to bring in to assist in the expansion that we were looking at the time, and it was the total disaster. There was no other way to describe it. It wasn't that they weren't great people. It was that how they looked at business was really different when it came down to the nitty-gritty than how we looked at it. And so it made for a very uncomfortable relationship.
I have, in my career, have had 2 successful businesses, this being one of them, and 2 unsuccessful businesses. And I have to tell you, both of my unsuccessful businesses came down to differences that came out between me and the partners involved that we didn't see until it was too late to salvage. I think we wanted to build a relationship and we wanted this to work so bad that we avoided a lot of things and we didn't face them. And when we tried to face them, there was something that just stood in the way. When you come up with a relationship obstacle, and granted, we're talking about extremes here. Yeah. Partnerships that don't work are like divorce. They just suck and they take a lot of energy, and it's worth every single experience, every single shred of experience that we get. Yet there's these things, these foundational things that we learn about relationships. So I would love to hear, what are some of these core concepts that you are looking for, that you plant seeds for, and you cultivate in developing relationships to avoid maybe that drastic of an outcome?
I go back to transparency because again, if something arises, there are some issues, we need to talk about it. We definitely need to talk about it and clear everything, because if we keep everything inside and we don't explain, we don't express our feelings, that might take us to a bad road. So we definitely need to discuss. That's why I always ask for meetings whenever we have events. I want to make sure that my team is on the same page and we basically discuss everything that needs to be discussed before the event and be prepared for anything that might happen at the event itself. I also have a so-called protocol for assistants that covers everything, that has a list of everything that they need to take care of at the event. And it covers everything from attire to how to respond to clients, how to present yourself, what to do with your paperwork, keep it hidden from the client, make sure that they understand what I want from them, and we're all on the same page.
As much as I have an emphasis on honesty and transparency, it's not always, of course, having been through a partnership that we had to get out of. Sometimes it's not quite enough. I mean, lesson forward is like really clear outlines about responsibilities and who needs to do what, and being very concise about what the expectations are has been very helpful going forward in dealing with people that we bring on board. Honesty and transparency, yes, it's important, but I would say in the instance of this risk, we were both being honest and for the most part transparent. It just came down to different goals at the end of the day that weren't quite communicated. So a little more concise tends to help.
If you were to think back to when you first started your organizations, did you even think about company culture, what you wanted, this concept of mission, vision, values, and how does it look and feel and sound like every day? Or did you stumble into it and go, yeah, I like it. Maybe I don't like that. And is it still evolving?
It is. And when I started my company, it was back in the 80s. So I don't think that concept it really existed at the time. And so I had no idea about my company culture, but I realized that little by little, evolving my company and working on it, I had a list of values that were really, really important for me. And that was what I was applying to my company, basically, to the way I work with my clients and the way I provide service to them. So that's how I came up with a list of values. And I realized that they were really the foundation of how I operate, the foundation of my company and the way I'm known for, like creativity, positivity, transparency, honesty, consistency, diligence. I mean, there are a lot of values that I always transfer to my team. And those are really what I strive for. The reason why I provide service to my clients and the reason why my clients come to me, because they know that they can count on me regarding that. But yeah, no, I never thought that I would have a company culture until a few years ago. It was great though, because when I sat down and put the list down, I was like, wow, I do have a company culture. And I was so proud of myself.
I would say evolving or tweaking, definitely. We do along the line, but I think going into business, our decision was this is who we are. This is what we want to portray ourselves as. And I think that has always been the foundation. Evolving into a company culture or passing our core values on to people who we've brought on side is definitely something that we didn't plan at the start, but fits with how we looked at growing our business.
I love that we have two completely different business setups here and how culture fits into both. We've got two sides of the coin, if you will. Sabrina with being a solopreneur and having a company culture around that, and Andrea with your larger team and everybody coming together in the way that they come together. I want to know from you guys, was that your outset? Did you want what you have today when you started in terms of how people work with you?
I would say yes for my specific case, because again, and I base my company on my values, on my personal values. I'm a very direct person. I'm very honest. I'm very diligent. I'm a type A professional. So that's how my company is known for, so attention to detail. It's undivided attention to my clients, stellar service. I always go above and beyond. I'm willing to maybe but take a little more time to understand what I can do for them and to find solutions for them. So definitely, yeah. My personal values are my company values. So yes, they're the right representation of myself, basically.
I don't have anything to add to that because it is the same way and it feels the same. And even though it's a different team or a different environment, when you begin a business, you bring your core values to it. That makes it important in how you grow and what you bring to your growth. It's exactly the same.
I have a totally different viewpoint. So let's see where this goes. When I started Red Direction, my company, I decided, you know what? This is not me. Everything I do, everything I have, like Voice of Bold Business, is going to be a type of product or service or offering, a way to help people. And they each have their own role. Regardless of that, I am not my company. And I knew that from the beginning. I was not going to be my company. I have no desire to have the weight of that. And in fact, for me personally, it's very freeing to know I don't have to take responsibility for every single one of my employees. every single one of my contractors and vendors and my clients who I choose to work with. When we can separate that, we have this ability to look at our businesses a little differently. Whatever the case may be, it's having it be separate was actually very important to me, because then I can show up with all of me and my core values in service of what this company is trying to do, because I realized early on nobody was going to be able to be exactly like me. And the only way for me to communicate this concept of transparency was to invite others to join me with their skill sets, with their values that we shared common meaning around to get to the end goal of what we're doing at Red Direction. What's your response to that, ladies?
I think that depends on the size of the company. I'm the only person. I'm the only one dealing with my clients. I'm the only one planning the events. So when I work with a team, I really need an extension of me. I really need someone who represents my company 100%, because my clients hire me for their events. They don't hire the company, they hire me. That's why I don't think I could ever sell my company, because the company is me, basically. So I would have a hard time to do that. For me, it would be a little hard, because again, if I hire an assistant, she really needs to be me, basically, wherever she is. And if I'm not around, she needs to take the decision that I would take if I were there. So that doesn't really apply to me, but I completely understand your point. And that's something that I think many companies do.
Because we're not a huge business, we do have a team that we work with. Part of what we have is the ability to step away the way that you do a little more now than I would say we did at the start. But there is still an invested part of who we are and what we are doing. And so that may change in time. At this point, it's still the same, and we're still looking at it from the perspective as if we were, or when we were started, where we're still invested in our business that way.
This is actually a really cool articulation of 3 different ways of doing business, where the type of communication that we have and the way we communicate and the actions that we take are what reinforce the values of our culture and either add to or take away from our culture at any given point.
If we're all doing and investing in the same communications and in developing our cultures, that's what we're going to take away. It doesn't matter what the business is or how you've structured it. It's how you're communicating what's important in it.
Taking an active role and looking at it and fostering it and making sure it is what we want is something that I consider to be very bold and different and unusual than a lot of companies will give credit to. They're like, we don't need that. We're doing what's working. Something's broken, but we're not quite sure. And I want to hear from you guys. Why is it bold? How does it help? What is taking this approach and fostering this and being genuine about our company culture? How does that make us succeed and be different in today's marketplace?
I think it shows that we're serious about the business. It shows that we're dedicated, we're committed, and we really want to make an impact in our industry. That's my personal opinion, and I really want to make a difference. And that's why a lot of young wedding planners come to me, because they want to learn from me. They heard that I do these wonderful events, and they want to know how I do it, how I operate, how I transfer this passion that I have for my clients, and how I provide this stellar service. So it's all about making an impact and making a difference in the industry. Again, another person asked me a few months ago, what is the definition of success for you? And I told him, definition of success for me is to be a role model in my industry. It's not about money, it's not about, anything else, but being a role model, that's the most important thing, because it means that I arrived. I made a difference, and I really am able to transfer my passion and my company values to someone else and let them be dedicated, passionate, and serious like I am.
I think when you choose to create a culture where your team wants to be there, loves to be there, holds the same values as you do, that is a bigger step, a bolder step in leading business to be something more than just business. Creating the right company culture is really important, because so many don't do it. And there are so many unhappy people in their positions. And I would rather see those that I work with happy. And I think that is a very simple concept that I'd like to see move forward.
If I were to sum up what you both said, Sabrina and Andrea, it's something that's greater than ourselves. And what we're doing is we're showing up to do something with other people, whether it's serving them as an individual, whether it's showing up as a team to deliver something. It's very much greater than ourselves.
And I love that.
I like that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
When we think about company culture, there are so many elements and so many aspects. And I have to tell you, as we were talking, there were a lot of things that I was like, oh, that was a failure of mine. Oh, that was a failure of mine. Boy, if I had known that a little sooner in my business journey, in my journey developing myself in the roles that I had in other companies. Take those away and really think about them in the sense that I know there's something actionable you can do. I know there's something that you can add to your vision that can clarify the steps that need to take and where to put your attention and priority in actions to create the plan of where you want to go. Genuine company culture, it starts with us and how we show up. So whether we're showing up in our own business as a solopreneur, whether we are showing up as the CEO or founder or owner operator of our business, or maybe we're just part of the team, whether that's entry level, somewhere in middle management, even on the executive team, we have a responsibility to the company culture, recognizing it exists and recognizing how we add to it. We talk about transparency and trust in this program. We also talked about consistency and being invested, and the fact that every single thing we do within the role that we have in our organizations contributes to something greater than ourselves. And you're going to find all the program notes here for this program at voiceofboldbusiness.com/P70. That is voiceofboldbusiness.com/P for program 70. You can also search Grow Genuine Company Culture. After you've listened to this, subscribe to your preferred platform and have these programs delivered to your queue every Tuesday and Friday as they're aired. I have to admit, it's hard being a leader today, and we're defining it as we go. Some days it's very clear, yes, we're on this path. Other days it's not. Regardless of how sure or unsure we are, there's certainty in the fact we're showing up. And we want to be the best that we can in that. So our actions every day, add or take away from our company culture, and either take away or add to being part of something greater than ourselves. And I want to know from you, what have you done to genuinely grow your company culture?
Subscribe at thevoiceofboldbusiness.com and get more information, program notes, and past episodes. Bold leaders approach each situation and focus on action to achieve a higher level of leadership. Jessica Dewell, your business advocate, is the host of the Voice of Bold Business Radio. Thank you for joining us.